what lesson is most important?
It's really important because with my background, give you an example, my background, like I was public school educated for 11 years, so I know a lot of history. I know a lot about government. I know a lot about our rights. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? It's not the same. You know what I'm saying? When you get in that position, you know, you got to know exactly what you would want. What I would do might be different from what I would want my son to do. You know what I'm saying? And that's an important conversation to have. Like my father was retired law enforcement, so there's a lot at play in my mind when I even look at all of these issues. So like, and that's everybody. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's gonna have some type of, you know, connection to these type of issues. So like, I would feel like as that parental unit, you want to be on the same page. You know what I'm saying? Because wife might say, hey man, I just need you to make it home. You do whatever they say. You know what I'm saying? Husband be like, man, know your rights, be educated, be articulate, be respectful, but know your rights and don't lay down. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, you know, with that, you know, you want to be united. You know what I'm saying? You want to be united. I think it's an important conversation. But we can get ranking them after that, after we get them. How many you gotta have? 8 to 10? We looking for 8 to 10. We got 5 right now. Discipline children is one. Financial planning, financial goals is another.
Guys, it's just so y'all know, I jump right in the conversation. I'm not shy. One of the biggest things you have to me, talk about in a marriage when you get into a marriage is who's going to be the head of that household. Because we know in certain households, especially in the black community, depending on where the woman came from, if she came from a single parent, which my wife was, she was raised by just her mother. So you have to make sure y'all on one accord, even starting out, who's going to be the head? Who's going to be the mouthpiece? Then there's sometimes the wife needs to be the mouthpiece instead of the man. So you have to have, that's a balancing act. So me and we have ego. And that's our biggest thing in marriage, is our ego. Can we bring our ego down to let our wife be the head? She may make more money than we do. So those are the things that we have to, me going into a marriage, that's kind of the first thing you have to check. You have to check, or just make sure that, you know, how we gonna do this. And then things gonna change throughout the marriage. So.
Yeah, that's the I would call that a leadership hierarchy. Just like it kind of like, you know, like, because on different issues, it really was like, I can think back to my upbringing. It was some things I went to dad about, some things I went to mom about.
Yeah, I came from a 2-parent home, but it was an abusive 2-parent home.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So that still wasn't good as well. So you have 2 different structures coming together. And then my wife we've been together since she was 17, and I'm 45, so there's a lot of growing gotta go there. So I've had to teach her, or she taught me too, you know, because it's on one board, so it's gotta be.
When you said abusive household, then we need to talk about discipline.
There you go. Discipline.
How we gonna discipline?
Discipline, respect of each other.
Okay, we already had that, my bad.
Okay. But that does, it's funny because that's another angle of looking at that as well. Because a person who's in an abusive household, they may be one way or the other. They may want to whip their kids too much, and some may be like, nah, I know the sting of that. I don't want any of that. Regardless of what they do, I'll talk to them, sit them down. Yeah, that's it's funny how that loops back around. You know, it brings even a heavier weight.
Just like the abusive household, but discipline's gonna look differently from a single parent perspective to like those 2-parent households.
It is.
So,
it is different.
you know, it's definitely a valuable conversation.
And it's going to be different if she's educated and the male's not, or vice versa. If you went to college and she didn't go to college, or vice versa, the wife went to college and you didn't go to college, then we know that that's different too. Because that's an ego thing that can fall into place. You know, a lot of times one may think one is smarter than the other just because they went to college, and that's not true. But that does play a part in it.
No, right?
That's carrot.
Is it though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So morals will go on.
Yeah.
Coming in a community as a people.
still have to be taught.
Look at the kids now.
Right.
No morals,
That's what starts at home. All the morals are being taught.
I said I've heard it before. Like my mom be like, or my dad be like, hey, when you go out, you don't represent yourself. You represent me as well. Yeah.
My dad used to say that.
So I guess we
Don't
gonna
embarrass yourself, don't embarrass our name, don't embarrass our race.
Don't bring Satan to the family.
So I guess we want to put trust.
You need to write that down.
So
Hey,
that's a mantra.
quick question. I know I hear y'all saying like don't don't embarrass yourself. What happened? Did we stop having those conversations with our children?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
What caused it?
we start having kids at a younger age, and the knowledge he's talking about stop being given because you can't pour from an empty cup. You know what I'm saying? So we talk about it all the time. It starts at home. Education, knowledge. All this starts at home. And
I feel like you can
if you're not around it, you don't know. That's all you know.
What about like the situations where you had grandparents have, back in the day, how they had children, they were 15, 16. And me and my buddy was talking and we were saying like, well, they were just as young. But it's like, you look at most grandmothers, like they're strong. Like they dealt with everything. It's like, what happened to, like now when I work in the school system, you can experience every young girl, 15, 16, got depression.
Look at grandma, how they meet me. They ain't grandma, they ain't big.
We just had somebody earlier today. Lady earlier today, we just met saying, meet me.
It's the flip side of this too. It's the flip side. My wife calls herself a meeting because our kids are grown. So we know we don't sit up home like papa and grandma and sit and wait on grandkids. So I get the other side of that. But at the same time, it gotta be something, it gotta be some jewels there. You know what I'm saying?
One thing I always say is that your parents are your first teachers. So if they like you say they're not getting it there, then you're working backwards. Being in education, you're working backwards when you come to school.
I used to equate, we putting all the stuff on the chalkboard every day for these kids. Come in the morning, and it's a fresh chalkboard. We have to start from scratch every day. Because what we instill in them is not being reinforced at home. So the chalkboard is white clean every time they leave the school. Guess what? We start from scratch the next day. So I've been in the ground so long. But,
one other question dealing with education. We have to talk about the betrayal of our young people, especially young Nubian males. It's like they got you in the school system, but how many times do you run into it's people that are 100% against them, some that look like them, some that don't look like them. You know what I'm saying? It's like a distrust there. I was talking to a teacher. I said, you need to go back to neighborhood schools. Like you have to know the people that are teaching your children to have a relationship.
I'll tell you a story. I heard one of my cohort members, called Mr. He said that one of the students that graduated there, he ended up becoming a principal within the next year. He said that his first year there, he took all the teachers on the bus, and they went into the neighborhoods and spoke and had dinner with the families that was in that neighborhood. He said they did that, and next thing you know, I think a year later, test scores were going up. All of that. He said he had more relationship with the teachers. He said, you have to. One of the things I call him Mr. I'll tell y'all real brief. Our 3 words are empower, educate, and trust. And he always goes over. He pounds into what does that mean? What does that mean? So educate. You obviously want to educate your students. Empower. You always want to encourage them because you never know where they're gonna get that encouragement from. They may not get it from home. They may not get it. And then with trust, before you do anything, nobody's gonna trust you as soon as you walk to a building. You have to build that bridge. Even if it's by yourself, even if you're building it by yourself, you have to build that bridge. Because without that, you can't do any of the other two.
Every week, what's what? I say it every week. I can't even
Real sell wealth. Religion, economics, labor, sex and gender, education, law, war/security, entertainment, politics. That's it.
That's what I'm saying. That's in a nutshell.
I say every week, he asked me, and I just.
But you know what? I think determine the importance of is age, because kids can understand different things at different ages.
True.
And I think the age will make go into the ranking of the topics we got. That's because they can't comprehend some stuff when they're 5 and 6.
Right.
They're the conversations you're gonna have when they get 11 and 12 and 18. They might teen when they start getting closer to the real world.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think the age may affect the ranking.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
I'll say
I mean, because all of them important,
Right.
but it's just a matter of time when you're gonna have those conversations, now or later.
Right. And if it's on time or too late, also those
Yeah,
conversations. You see what I'm saying?
That's why I said credit on that. That's personal for me.
See, I was thinking,
I had to find out the hard way about
if they old enough to ask the question, they old enough to know.
That means
I've
they've
always
been
been
thinking
talking
about
about
it.
my kids.
You think so?
That's how my dad told me.
Ask that man right there. Ask that man right there.
They've been thinking about it already. Ask you the question, that mean they've been thinking about it or they seen something.
Can you like elaborate on when you say if they're old enough to ask a question, they're old enough to get
They don't know if to ask a question, they don't know if to get an answer. If they ask the question, I've always lived by that philosophy. He came to me one day and asked me, I don't know if it's something about sex or whatever. I told him because he was old enough to ask it. So I'm like, hey, I want you to ask it. I want you to know, and I want you to hear it from me. And then you have to follow up with that and say, well, hey, because I do that with you, don't go to school and tell all your friends necessarily, hey, did you know babies come when you can't do that. But one of the things that my uncle did with me, he always talked to me like he was raising a man, so I never talked to him like he was I didn't give him too much, but I never talked to him like I wasn't raising anything but a man. You know what I mean?
We gotta kind of train through something. If not number one, at least top two.
I mean, I ain't gonna vote against it. I ain't gonna vote against it. Not gonna vote against it. That's all I'm saying. I ain't gonna vote against it.
This is like I just watched something real interesting. Like I just watched something real good on.
Trying to decide what we gonna say is number one. And I mean, it feels good when your wife takes
I mean, I think communication may have to be.
Sexual intimacy.
That's first.
Hold on, what's the choices? What we debating on for being number one?
Well, right now it ain't really a debate.
Hey, number one side, we gonna start part two.
Yeah, that's it.
My brother said communication is important. Yes, it is. You know, because that's part of it. You gotta communicate sexually, that's number one. Right. So, right. And you gotta be delicate in how you communicate that, depending on who it is.
Let me ask you a question. But first of all, let me say, I love what you said, brother, before about balance. I believe everything in life is balance. If it's not balanced, it's broken. Some things I need to take the lead on, some things you take the lead on. You know what I'm saying? Depending on the situation. But at the end of the day, I'm a man. It ain't just my word, but I'm a man. I'm gonna do the manly stuff.
That's right.
You take care of the other stuff, but and your role is not more important than mine, or vice versa.
That's right.
But my question is, one of the things that came up at the last one, and I don't know if you guys have it on, it was, this might sound a lot different for some folks, but they were like, conversation you need to have with your wife, well, how many wives can you have? Can you have more than one wife? And that was something that kind of came up at the last one, so I don't know, just throwing that out there. If y'all won't put up there, that's how you'll do it. I mean, just food for thought.
I can only listen to one. I ain't met a woman yet who want to share.
But you know what? It's me being of the faith, being of the Muslim faith. We speak about that, and it's received good, and it's been polarized. But Prophet Muhammad, peace blessed be upon him, he did live a monogamous marriage until his first wife initially died. And as far as he looked at marriage as servitude, as you protecting a woman, because there's nothing more fragile than a pregnant female. So that system was set up to protect women from and allow women to have resources, to have inheritance, to have homes for their children, and not be bastardized. So it was a mercy to have multiple wives, and it's a lot of work. Like, for example, if I had multiple wives, I would have to have my own house, have 3 probably equal townhomes, and each wife would live there, and I pay every bill, every car note,
Have as many as you can afford.
and be paying 6, maybe a lot of money in life insurance. So that's the way it is. It's not a sexual thing. So that's what
I was going to say. It's a sexual thing.
But if known, people of knowledge would say, even during that time, it is best to have one. Because when you have multiple women, we all know you're going to have organized confusion, or in the Arabic word is fitna. Which is confusion, and you think it's random, but no, this is a concocted plan to have chaos into your home. And it makes mathematical sense by the way that the female outnumber the male.
It will make economical sense.
Yeah.
Economical sense.
Yeah.
I mean, But like, wait a second, you don't mean a lot. But that's because
But
it's been
within our-
drilled in people's head that they don't.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm from South Carolina. Like, you know what I'm saying? I grew, you know, I was raised Christian. Most of them, I went to college, raised Christian. Yeah, you know, in my profession, like, you know, when I was teaching in the classroom, I mean, in the circles that I moved in, like, that's who I'm going, 9 times out of 10, meet a black, God-fearing woman, and, you know what I'm saying, by those normal Christian, you know what I'm saying, constructs, and that's what's going to be. But I mean, of course, you know what I'm saying, if you got a different life, you know what I'm saying.
I think that raises a whole nother question too. Like, do you talk about religion with your mate before you got on the list? Okay. Just making sure.
Granddaddy did have another family. You found out at the funeral.
Granddaddy did it, man. My dad thought they were just 4 brothers, and he had sisters.
When you say multiple wives, it's a system that we gotta be reintroduced to again.
Yeah, polygamy, yeah.
Because most men have a bunch of affairs, and women too. So if you're a brother and you got a wife, but you got 4 or 5 girlfriends,
It's not that far off. It's not that
Yeah,
far off.
you're already doing it, and like, and somebody made a point over here. Something I always say too. I can't remember who I heard it from, but like you say, I hear a lot of women say, "Well, you know, my granddaddy knew he wanted to marry my grandma within the X amount of time or whatever." And I said, marriage looked a lot different. It was definitely about economics and things like that. I said, but when you talk about your grandfather, they've been married for 50 years, and people don't stay married anymore. How many of those years were happy? 1, 2, like you said, granddaddy got some children up the street, round the corner, and you hear stories about, Daddy, this is my girlfriend. You don't need to mess with her. Why? That's your sister. Or how many sisters went from the woman point? And that is a true story. I've seen it happen in my neighborhood. Then the other point. No, I wasn't saying you said going against it. I was just like, and look, the flip side of that is that everybody, all your brothers and sisters, your mom and dad, my complexion, but you got one brother that's lighter than all y'all.
That's that one.
So mama play a role in that too. So like you said, it's men and women, but I think we've just been taught it's the sex thing. It's just sex. Okay, but I just want to throw some food out there, man. I'm gonna step away.
Well, culturally, I think culturally from
Judeo-Christian attitude that we was just taught to have one wife and woman because that was their thing, king and queen.
And even with that was allowed within itself. That's why we act like that. But that was allowed within itself because you got one wife, but then what you going out to the slave quarters for? What you going out to the slave quarters for? So you're doing the exact same thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's always been there, but we're in such a nation that's so supposedly reserved and conservative that's like, oh, we can't do that. You already do that. How many people do you meet that maybe haven't had an affair, haven't done this? You see what I'm saying? So it's like you're already doing it. But one of the things Chris said, I like, it has to be some level of structure. Because I don't know if y'all, but I got a friend, a woman can be the nicest woman in the world. She say, just keep my house clean. He go use the bathroom, won't flush the toilet. Like that's just him. He pushes the limits. You can't have that. It has to be a certain level of discipline.
See, I've been sitting here trying to think of my response to this question, because I do have some very strong feelings about this, but I think for me it comes down to this question of fulfillment. Like, I know for me personally, I don't want, you know, a woman over here or a woman over there, because my wife fulfills
everything that you need.
All of my needs, talking about mentally, spiritually, and I feel like brothers that are out there doing that is because they searching for something, because who they have has not fulfilled them. And so for me, I'm wondering if who you have and you're not feeling satisfied or fulfilled in that relationship, is that the right relationship for you?
I think maybe sometimes it's just like, I don't like to use the word luck, but you like, some people are very fortunate, not only that you meet yours, but you were able to build a life with her. How many times have you looked back and had people say, man, I wish I would have let that one get away, or this was the wrong time? So like you say, it can't be a lot of searching, but I look at it like the sum of the parts sometimes are bigger than the whole. You know what I mean? Like, if you find that, that's cool and that's fine. I don't think either way a person should kind of down someone else who want to do that, or I think it should be, if I can get something from right here, I get spiritually fed here, I get mentally fed over here, fed some kind of way over here. I think both parts work. It's just kind of like, I think you made an excellent point, fulfillment.
And I know I've been very lucky, because I've been with my wife since, you know, we've known each other since high school, and you know, we both knew like then, and like you said before, like, man, I wish I hadn't let that one get away. But I think you know, all of us in our pursuit, we've always been looking for maybe perfection, and so we let one little flaw kind of keep us.
And I think that go back to what the brother said right here. We're taught to, you know what I'm saying? We're taught to be like how we choose our mate. You know what I'm saying? How we choose our mate or whatever. It's like you hear it in music and everything now. Like you said, we've been taught that this one thing, you got to have this one thing. You got to do this. And if you don't have, you can be the perfect person and you got one. Well, this physical part. Oh, she's too tall. Or it can be, oh well, he don't make enough money. One of the things I told Dominique, I said, listen, we train our women to find men with money instead of saying find a good man and then you can build well. Okay, I'm out to our conversation. I'm going. Y'all bring it back. We got two going on. Y'all bring it back over there. Okay.
Adding health and wellness, man. That's real important. You know what I'm saying? The wife really be honest about life insurance.
Man, hey Dominique, I really hope Brother T come, man. I miss that brother. I hope he show up, man. That's my dude. That's my dude, man. I'm gonna go look out for him. You said he was coming. That brother, that's smooth, man. Smooth. I love it.
Sexual intimacy, but he came back with health and wellness. I guess.
How you doing, too, bro?
What's going on, man? You know I had to mess with
To
you.
me, I'm not going to debate the top 5.
I can't wait to hear these top 5 over here.
I would say communication and then finance. You know,
That's what I was thinking.
yeah, financial security.
Financial planning.
I'm a little late, bro. What's the topic?
Hey, y'all feel this? Hey, can y'all feel this brother in?
T, nice to meet you.
I teach all the time. I ain't trying to take no notes here.
Hey, y'all bring him up to speed on what we're doing, please.
How you doing, bro?
Doc.
Doc, nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you. Hey, look, I'm not gonna disagree.
What was
with
on the
anything.
Oh, splendid. Could we?
Did they tell you what's going on?
Nah,
Hey, can y'all bring Brother T what we doing? Like bring him up to speed.
Was
Spousal conversation.
sexual intimacy, communication, financial planning, spiritual governance, and
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead with you.
discipline church. That was my top 5.
My top 5, we can debate them a little bit. I had sexual intimacy, health and wellness, financial security, communication, and leadership hierarchy.
Yeah, see, we close because I had leadership hierarchy at 6.
Okay.
So I mean, we
we're good.
we almost in agreement. You and I at least. You know what I'm saying?
T, you wanna jump up here so you ain't outside the circle?
So that's realness right there. That's what I'm talking about.
That covers.
Yeah, I mean, some of that stuff.
Yes, it's okay.
Yeah, a lot of these do kind of, interact.
I think it's good
Family
that,
involvement, remember?
Now, we had discipline. What were we going back in saying?
like, as far as children, just how we want to raise.
Okay,
them.
how we want to raise the
Children,
kids.
how
Okay,
we raise them.
okay.
Do we whip or not? You know, that's
I just think, like, the highest thing has got to be what's between that man and that woman. Like, the things that deal with the two of them before you can do anything else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think the communication, sexual intimacy, that's important. You know what I'm saying?
We play good cop, bad cop. Especially when they get into teenage years. So my son, it was like 2 lions, 2 bulls in the china shop. And my wife had to be that mediator. Now her and my daughter bull in the china shop. So, boom. So, but we didn't communicate that up front. So now we're trying to do that on the fly. So those are some of those things you should talk about as you start to get into raising kids.
A lot of things we don't know, because like myself, I didn't have a father.
Sure.
We didn't have examples to go by. You know what I'm saying? So how can we talk about that if we ain't got examples to talk about?
You gotta have a village, man. Gotta have somebody you know. You know what I'm saying? It's somebody you know. Somebody you know.
We always talk about Big Mama. That's Pop played a big role. You know what I'm saying? We gotta talk about football coach.
Even if it ain't your granddaddy, it's somebody's granddaddy.
You know, little Johnny down the street. I mean, Big Johnny down there. We had a guy that loved to drink in our neighborhood. Alcoholic, flat out great basketball player, but he kept all us straight in the neighborhood. Like not in no, just he pulled us over. You know, one day we were drinking. We were like in our 20s, and he pulled us over. He said, "Now y'all drinking those guys, young guys over there, 13, 14." He said, "Now they gonna think because y'all drinking, y'all cool, they gonna want to drink." But they might not be able to deal with it 13 and go cut up and do something. He said, y'all send them down the street. But it was just, he had that wisdom. But, you know, he wasn't related to any of us.
Fact.
That's the village, like you said.
Yeah, that's what it takes. I was gonna say, I think the spiritual governance thing is important.
It's very important.
We can't leave it down because, like, it gotta be something that like is
Y'all got
greater
stuff?
than the two of you, right? It's
Yes,
gotta
you should be
something
outside.
That keeps everybody in check. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of like, it gotta be a way for me to be able to check her, not just because I'm the man, but because like there's something that we both agree is greater than us. Something that like to keep us both in check. That's our checks and balances.
You talking about
Spiritual.
Yeah, just whatever it is, whatever your set of principles are gonna be, that's gonna be the rule of law between the two, right?
I was gonna offer a light push.
Yeah.
Y'all got the same
Those
type
things.
Moral compass, that's what it is.
That's the moral
Y'all got
compass, yeah, that's
something
what compass, yeah.
together. Y'all living by the same type of morals. And y'all, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the only way, because everybody gotta be checks and balances in every system.
Yes, yeah, it's very important, and it's I notice a lot of times with spirituality, just learning people change. And it affects you. I mean, there's situations people may come up Pentecostal and become a Buddhist, or they may come out Baptist and their wife is Adventist and things like that. So yeah, or somebody might become agnostic, or they may have had an experience that was heightening this, and they go that way, or an experience that was lesser than, and they go that way. How do you guys think would that affect?
I would say
your
it's
marriage?
very,
Because some people
very,
are cut and dry. Like a person were, say, into ministry, and his wife wanted to leave maybe even that form of Christianity. Maybe they want to go to Catholicism. or
Is
something
that
like
what reach? We have to put it over.
Me and my wife have actually, we went through all.
Because I'm saying, I think
religions.
that's the importance
So
of
I'm
it,
gonna
because
say I'm
people
spiritual.
change when
And I
they
believe-
see their mortality.
I got a belief
Sorry.
in, I'm sorry,
No,
I
no.
believe in everything.
Yeah.
So therefore, you do have to be lockstep. And morally, you gotta be on the same page and be respectful of each other's
Yeah.
different beliefs from a spiritual
Yeah.
standpoint.
Otherwise, you run wild. You don't got no direction. You got no focus. Like, gotta be something in place that you disagree on.
Because each religion, to some degree, is saying the same things based into love.
Some degree.
Yeah.
But the thing about what I notice is
It's just